And welcome back, everybody, to Locked Off Logic podcast. We have our favorite guest of all time back again, the Half Black Widow, Renee Reviews. You can find her on Instagram, TikTok. And we did an episode, like a month ago. We were talking about some of our most anticipated projects of 2026. And we just saw it. We just saw it a few days ago. 28 years later, The Bone Temple, which I was really looking forward to. I think on my list, it was the most anticipated because I loved 28 years later. I love that story with Spike and all these different people. And just it's a direct continuation of that story, released 20 after 28 years later was released, which I thought was just such an awesome creative marketing tactic. And we follow the same story with little Spike in this broken world. When we last left off with Spike, he got picked up by this weird group of like Power Rangers / Teletubbies, the Jimmies. And my God, do we learn more about the Jimmies in this movie? And so the movie is basically like, just for those who are listening, this is going to be full of spoilers, so please skip ahead if you've listened. If you haven't watched it yet, you're looking forward to listening to it, watching without spoilers. But it basically follows two characters, really. I mean, Spike, is involved, but it follows Jimmy Crystal, and Dr. Kelson on their journeys of how to survive in this broken apocalyptic world. And they follow these journeys in these highlands of England before they finally meet at the end. And I loved it, man. I thought it was amazing. It fulfilled every one of my expectations. I'm really bummed to see the box office numbers. I think people are missing out. But, I mean, it was a solid 9 out of 10 for me. Renee, what did you think?
Yeah, so I definitely loved it. I will just say it's definitely it's different from the first film. I know a lot of people were saying that 28 years later was more drama and less zombies, but this one is actually way more drama and way less zombies. There was only really like zombie action in the beginning. And I mean, besides then everything with Samson. But other than that, the zombies weren't really a focus, which I liked. I thought it was a great different take, especially having Ray Fiennes and Jack O'Connell take the reins. It was great just seeing their two characters take the lead. And I mean, Spike was still there, but you were like watching him suffer to being with the Jimmies, and it was just a completely different tone. I did love it. I did rate it half a star lower than the first one. I think I gave the first one 4.5, so this is 4. Might change upon a rewatch, but I did really enjoy it. I did.
Yeah, I really felt for like the opening scene, like with Spike, and because the Jimmies, I thought it was such a cool Easter egg, like we talked about like in our last podcast of like the Easter egg of like who these people are, and like you have to like go do some research on these people, and like I've seen like a bunch of people from like Great Britain do TikToks today. They're like, hey, if you go see this movie, do not dress up as Jimmy. Do not do it, because Jimmy is not a character that you want to emulate. Like if you need to like find out what this person is based off of, you wouldn't be dressing up as this guy.
Yeah.
And man, I remember there was a quote that I think Danny Boyle said where he was like, the second movie is the nature of evil, like when it comes to human beings. And like, that was, if people were wanting like more violence, more like brutality that they didn't maybe get in 28 years later, they would definitely get it in this movie. There's that one scene where, I mean, that was like in the barn with all the Jimmies, like that was very, very disturbing. And the Jimmy, you find out who they are right away. Like they're a little cult, like they're a little satanic cult. Like he's talking to Satan the whole movie, and it kind of like you find out kind of what drives him, and he was, and I thought that was such an interesting kind of take on this world between the two characters with Dr. Kelson and Jimmy, where I think Jimmy is a good example of what faith does when it's focused on power, control, hatred, the others, versus like Dr. Kelson when he kind of proves the opposite, where humanity is kind of like the last thing that you have that's moral, like in this world that's just so broken. But I will agree with you. I did like 28 years later better, maybe slightly better, but I mean, I love 28 years later, and I love this one too. But yeah, if I had to compare it to, I would say 28 years later for me was a little bit better too.
Yeah, I think they just had a little bit more action-wise, I think, probably. I mean, this one definitely had more of a comedic tone. I mean, it wasn't like a full-on comedy, but there was definitely more moments where I found myself laughing than I was in the first one. And I like the first one, the cinematography, and this was gorgeous. No surprise, especially where they're filming. Like, it's just a gorgeous area. And I also loved the soundtrack, which a lot of people are loving, especially for we'll get to, eventually get to the big climactic scene where with the song, but I just even just the music, the score was great. It was still creepy, and I still felt like I was watching 28 years later, but like it was different. I don't know how to say it, but like I still felt like it was 28 years later, but it was also different. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was. That's one thing I wrote down was just how beautiful this movie is. The one issue I have with the movie is that there were some moments of like shaky camera, which I've never been like a huge fan of. Uh, and there's some like with the zombie action, like shaky camera, and I was like, I don't like this much. And there was just less like shaky camera, like in the other one. Uh, but it was just, I mean, the whole area is just so beautiful. And then the contrast of like the bone temple, like every time they show that temple, like you talk about the climactic scene, like that was it was crazy, like, that whole scene, but also, like, beautiful where it's like, I mean, Dr. Kelson just looked like the devil, man, he looked so good, like, he looked so like, with the makeup they gave him and the effects to kinda pull that stunt off and, like, the candles, like, in the bones, and one thing I just love, there's a poster that I posted, like, on the Locked Off Logic TikTok page, and I've been looking at it as I was getting ready for this movie, and it's a picture of Dr. Kelson kind of going wild in that last scene amongst the bone temple with the 28 years later symbol with kind of the stars in the sky. And like, I looked at that so often as I was getting ready for this movie of just like this world that's kind of been like abandoned by the heavens, really. Like, it's like if there's a God up there, like looking down like this chaotic world, and there's this guy who's doing what he has to do to survive while honoring the humanity of just this fucked up world, you know? And it just, the poster just gave me like all those different thoughts with the stars and him and the bones. And I really just enjoyed it, like just that discussion of faith as a whole. And like as a person of faith, like the character of Jimmy, like the inverted cross, his praying to the devil, like his kind of, he's kind of like the wonky version of Jesus. Like I listened to a creator on TikTok where he was talking about like, well, Jesus would call them disciples. Jimmy calls them fingers. Like, well, Jesus would say, like, love your neighbor and sacrifice yourself for others. Jimmy is sacrificing others to the devil, and he's enjoying their pain and their screams and using like this religion of like power and fear and really rot. Like it's like you see like throughout the movie goes is like his religion kind of rots from the inside. That's what kind of ends up being the downfall of him before he's, maybe killed. I don't know. We didn't see him die, so maybe he's not dead. But I just thought it was such an interesting discussion on faith, where faith, when it's based in religion or not religion, when it's based in fear, when it's based in like hating the others, when it's fanatical, like just how devastating it can be to other people. And then at the end, like just how hollow it is, where Dr. Kelson, I mean, he had one day to prepare for that final battle and he won because it was a hollow faith versus like Dr. Kelson, who his faith was based in humanity. And I thought that was such a, as a person of faith, you just see people of faith can do so much damage. And you see like Jimmy is convinced of what he believes. And I think those are the most dangerous type of like fanatics, where they believe that they're called by God or called by the devil or whatever, because there ain't no convincing them otherwise. Like they believe that they have a holy mission to do what they're doing. And in Jimmy's case, like in that barn scene, like his mission is so horrific. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that aspect of the film.
Yeah, this one was definitely had more religious themes for sure. I mean, right there, Jimmy Crystal, JC, Jesus Christ, that's a metaphor there. And then he kept referring to his father as Old Nick, aka Satan. And it's just the whole, I mean, I'm not a religious person at all, but I just thought it was very interesting with Jimmy because obviously in the mind, he knows nothing past, what was he, like 11 or 12, we'll say, when it first happened. He knows nothing, and when he's telling his fingers, the jimmies, about, like, biblical stories, he's, like, involving the Teletubbies, saying that they're involved in the biblical times, and it's just he has all sorts of bullshit he's just spewing, but because he believes it, he's able to convince the other jimmies that it is the truth, and it's just so crazy because 'cause I'm just like, how do you it's like how he could convince all these people that this is a religion, that this is true in this type of world when it's actually not true at all. The Teletubbies were not in the Bible. At least I don't think they were.
You talk about that, like, I mean, you talk about, like, religious leaders that believe that they are the only ones that speak for God. Like, in Utah, we have tons of these people. Like, there's a documentary out on Netflix right now where it's called the story of, like, Jody Hildebrand or something, where she was the one that was talking to the divine being and nobody else could, and no one else could understand, and she would recruit all these kinda, like, low intelligence people to kinda follow her. And so, like, in this world, like, I'm wondering of just, like, thinking about this, like, his Jimmies are pretty young, and like, maybe they don't read, like, maybe they can't read, maybe they have no concept of, like, what higher power is, and I think so many of, like, these cult leaders look for people that are, like, of lower intelligence and that are seeking some kind of meaning in their life. And so when Jimmy comes in, who claims, there's a couple different times, like when they're doing like the knife fight, at the very beginning, and he's like, "Let me ask Old Nick what he thinks." And he goes like this, and everyone's like, "No, no, 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 it's fine. Like we'll do it." Like maybe that's like the type of people that he recruits. Like I think that like that scene in The Dark Knight where like Harvey Dent is trying to interrogate like that guy who tried to kill Commissioner Gordon, and he's like, "Well, you're not going to get anything from this guy. This is the type of mind that the Joker attracts." And, like, in Jimmy's case, like, Spike,
Yeah.
who's fiercely intelligent, that's kinda where, like, his plan kinda goes awry, and he found meaning a long time ago, but, like, those other kids, because they are really kids, like, I can't think of one that maybe 20, maybe? If the pandemic or the end of the world been going on for 28 years, like, these people, like, who knows what their level of education is.
Yeah, we have no idea exactly when Jimmy found them. I was even thinking myself, maybe Jimmy did find them as they were also children. And I mean, kids are very easy to convince all sorts of things. And so I don't know if he just either he found them as kids and he convinced them that way, or they were all kids at the same time. But Jimmy is just also very confident that everything he is doing when he's talking to old Nick and just all that, he is so confident. And I'm just like, damn, dude, where does this confidence come from? Because you're spewing nothing but bullshit. And it just shows, like, how evil and manipulative he is, and I guess how easy it is to manipulate people in a not pandemic, obviously, epidemic. Yeah, that's what that's what I took from it. I just was curious about when exactly Jimmy had found each and every one, and
Yeah, it probably is, like, I mean, you think, like, what happened during the pandemic. I mean, you're in the medical field, you probably know better than anybody of just, like, the crazy that people went to and, like, the sources of information they went to because they're looking for some kind of reason this is happening. And if Jimmy, like, this world's ending, these zombies are killing people, and Jimmy shows up and says, I can tell you why this is happening and your purpose in it. I mean, even like someone like me, like, the end of the world's happening and someone comes to me and it's like, I can tell you exactly why this is happening and how you can move forward and make an impact here. I mean, at least it's a sit down, to hear what he has to say. And sometimes people shout crazy stuff, but I mean, the pandemic, I know a few people that kind of came to fame in the pandemic, and people still listen to them as if they're prophets and apostles. So, I mean, it's a kind of like a perfect environment for someone like Jimmy to thrive, where he's traumatized, he's worships the devil, and he has this hell on earth, and he was old enough to know about organized religion because his dad was a pastor. He has all these things, like he has all these tools to convince people. The environment was kind of bred perfectly for someone like Jimmy Crystal to rise. And I think once you like listen to your bullshit enough too, it doesn't sound so crazy. It's like he has a bunch of followers around him that just say yes to everything, and he's all by himself. And I think it's just over time, he probably just convinced himself that that is truth.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like I don't know if I'd really say he was trying to, like, preach about love, but I'd say maybe was, like, kind of preaching about taking care of your own, but at the same time, the Jimmies didn't help their own. Like, even in the beginning, in the opening, when Spike had to do the knife fight, and he ended up stabbing the one, and he bled to death. None of the other Jimmies did anything. No one rushed to his side. Main Jimmy just loved it. He was so entertained. And, like, even in the scene in the barn, once the guy, I believe his name is Tom, once he started fighting back and killed Jemima, like, nobody did anything. So I'm like, why do you preach to, like, be, like, trying to figure out how to word it. Being in a group and, like, supporting your group, but then at the same time, you're not doing anything to keep your group together and alive. It was like he could just find a new Jimmy at any moment. It was not like they were like, "Oh, I can't replace them." It's kind of just like, "No, I could replace them if I wanted."
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, just two Dr. Kelson, too, like the two responses to like a broken world, where one focuses on survival and one focuses on belief. And they both kind of intertwine with each other. But like Jimmy, like he uses belief to kind of manipulate his way through this world, gather all these followers, and just kind of run amok. But Dr. Kelson, like I think he gave such a good lesson to the end of the world. I'll kind of go off on a tangent a little bit of like just my personal experience, where for the longest time growing up, and I got into like nonprofit work and all these different things, and I just wanted so bad to save the world. Like there's so many things to just you can help with, and you just you want to help everybody and everything, and you just can't. Like that's like the unfortunate truth of this is you just can't. Like you can't protect all immigrants. You can't solve world hunger. You can't rescue every sex slave. You can't house all the homeless. Like as one person, you just can't do it. And Dr. Kelson, I think, realized that, where he probably like if he has the resources, like in a better world, Dr. Kelson, given the resources, the team, and the funding, he could probably save the world. Like he probably could. But Dr. Kelson, I think he kind of came to a realization where I can't save the world. And not that I'm just going to let it burn or anything, but I can't save it. I don't have the power nor the ability nor the resources to do it. What can I do? I can take care of the people in my sphere of influence. And so who does that come up with? It's Samson. It's his zombie that he knows and that he's had to tranquilize a few times, and he builds a relationship with, and he treats, he tries to heal, he tries to study, and at one point, he's like, I want to give you a good death because this cannot be fun for you, that where you are seeing things and you're terminally pissed off. Like, I want to give you some kind of peace. And before he says the word moon, like he was going to off him. He was going to give him like a peaceful death. And I was really impacted by that message just because like as I've gotten older and kind of realized that I can't save the world, like what can I do? I can take care of the people that are in my immediate sphere. Let's say there's some immigrants that need some help that live in Wyoming, or there's a person that's being abused that I can help that's in my sphere of circle, my sphere of influence. Like I can step up and help there. Maybe I can't save the world, but Dr. Kelson can't save the world either. But what he can do is this one person who he's just a human. He's an atheist who honors humanity in such a way where he dedicates his whole life to building this bone temple, to just honor their humanity. And he's like, I can't cure every zombie in the world because I only have, this much medicine. But if I can provide relief for this one zombie and maybe give him a chance to kind of come out of this fog that I think is what's happening to him psychologically, then I'm going to try that. And I just thought that was such a good lesson when it comes to how to retain your humanity in such a broken world.
Yeah, Kelson for sure was definitely representing of humanity in the world. And then of course Jimmy is the evil in the world. And Kelson, he just even in the first one, we saw that he he sees the beauty in life still. He still finds things to laugh at even while there's death and destruction all around him. He has hope that there is a cure, that he could find one. He's honoring the ones that are dead and in the bone temple, setting up their skulls and everything. He's dedicating his now life to research to finding a cure. And he even what I also really loved that they added in was his collection of old records. He still had his old records that he would play, and he would still dance and have fun, So even though he was by himself in this bunker underneath the ground, he still just found some kind of, I don't know if beauty really is the word, but he found some kind of just at least peace, maybe I'd say, in this post-apocalyptic world. But he's definitely a representation of humanity for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing that he does. It's like performative too, like even like his red skin, where it's like it's just him protecting himself, him loving on Samson. Like it's just him wanting to have connection and help this person. And one of the things I had written down is about belief systems based on dehumanization, which I think is what the Jimmies represent really well, where they dehumanize people. They sacrifice them to the devil. They kill them, and their faith becomes so like performative and authoritarian in its nature, which I think is just like that's the most dangerous kind of faith. Where it's when you get to like see the contrast between Jimmy Crystal and the doctor when they finally meet. And at first Jimmy thinks he's the devil and because of the way he looks, but then just as they got to talking, like there's just nothing performative about Dr. Kelson. He tells you exactly what he thinks, exactly what he's doing. And like, I think he tried to find some humanity in Jimmy, and then he ended up confessing he got a little scared later. But just the performative nature of Jimmy's cult, the Jimmy cult, and representative of like performative religions now, like, and I don't. This isn't even close to an accurate comparison, but like I'm friends with a bunch of people on WhatsApp that post their prayers like on like their WhatsApp stories, on their Instagram stories of like, oh God, here's what I'm praying for, like on their Instagram stories. And I'm like, that's just so weird. Like, I mean, the very Bible tells you to go pray like in your closet so that no one can see you and you can do it in private. And so God can reward you openly and you can ask in private. And so posting your prayers like online, I'm just like, I just don't understand it. And it's so performative. I think it's seeking like that, you know, the attention economy and Jimmy, like I mean, that's what he has to do to kind of keep this cult together. But his faith is so, you know, performative in its nature. And so the genuine goodness of Dr. Kellison's faith, it didn't come from religion, it just came from humanity. It was refreshing when the two finally met.
Yeah, you definitely made a great point there about like the Jimmys dehumanizing people because I felt like Dr. Kelson with Samson, he treated him like he was another human being. He didn't treat him like he was a zombie or a threat. They became friends, I guess you could say. They started dancing together. You know, he actually started caring about Samson and wanted to see him every day. And like you said, when he was about to actually kill Samson and he said the word moon, he was like, oh, wait. You know, like he was dedicated to just helping Samson and he wasn't about hurting others. But that's what the Jimmys were. And I do love that Jimmy actually believed that that Kelson was Satan because again, that just shows how ignorant Jimmy is and how like childlike mind he still has. So he believed it so easily. But Kelson, just his character in this entire film was the best. I don't understand how Ray Fiennes does not have an Oscar at this point. And it was just he is by far my favorite character. I'm sad we're not going to have him anymore, but he was so good. Ray Fiennes, I definitely can't stop talking about.
What did you think of the last scene with the rock concert?
So I you mean like killing?
What's up?
What ending scene?
The one where he performs as like the
Oh yeah, the song.
non-carnal beast. Yeah, yeah.
That was
Yeah, his
so
rock.
awesome. He played it up so well, but it was so funny because, like you said, when he was talking with Jimmy, and Jimmy was telling him, he's like, "Oh, you got to pretend for me that you know you're old Nick. They believe that you got to go along with my shtick." You know, I think Kelson knew in that moment he was like, "There's no way, there's no saving this guy." I think Kelson knew something was gonna happen. A lot of people believe that he knew he was gonna die that night. I don't know if would say he knew that, but I just really love how he played up the devil role. He had the black around his eyes and the outfit on and blasting the Iron Maiden and the fire everywhere. It was just so fucking cool. It was the greatest scene ever. I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. Like when I was in the theater, I was like, "Whoa, this is good!" Like it's crazy. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're having a little rock concert in the theater." And one of my movie tropes I absolutely hate is when like someone like some kind of random dance off happens. Like there was this movie I watched on the airplane the other day, and it was like it was about, I can't remember the actress but she goes back to school and she gets bullied for being old and being all these different things, and they go to a party and they have like this dance off and just like show up the mean girls with, like a dance off, and I was like, I hate this trope so bad. But this one, I'm like, this made sense where it's like in the story, like he had to convince them of this, and you see like the Jimmy's reaction, like freaking main character Jimmy, he starts freaking out, running around. Other Jimmys like are holding each other like in anticipation. One of them starts throwing up. Like it was just such a good scene. He acted it so well, and it's so nice to kind of see like his character, like this actor is not a villain too, because he makes one hell of like a compassionate person, you know, like in this film, and I think he holds it together. Where I think that, you know, the comparison between the Jimmys and the Doctor is like a fear-based religion that the Jimmys have will rot, and when given like the true test, like it will not hold itself together. But it's empathy that will hold us together when the rest of the world falls apart. And I just loved the contrast. I loved him. I was kind of sad that like Spike's character kind of took a backseat in this movie, but you had to. Like there was no to
Huh.
tell the story they wanted to tell. There was no they I think they include Spike as much as they could in this story. And I just feel bad for the kid, man. That kid has had one hell of like a 3-week span where his mom gets cancer, she dies, and he gets picked up by this satanic cult and has to freaking poor guy. He tries to help someone or ask someone to rescue him, and she ends up punching him in the gut and runs away. And I'm just like, man, and like the doctor, like he kind of pulls like when he realizes that is Spike, he kind of pulls a fast one, like on Jimmy, where he's like, I want you to crucify my son. He's my son. I want you to get him. I want you to turning this cold, like they're kind of flawed logic, like on themselves. And yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird seeing Spike somewhat take a back seat, but I mean, it was appropriate for this. He was still there, but I mean, his character, even though he didn't speak much, we did see more of his actual character, like how he never did anything that the rest of the Jimmies did. You know, when it came to the skinning of the people, he was throwing up. He couldn't handle it. You know, he would wait outside, and I know Kelly joined him. The other Jimmy at one point, she joined him. He couldn't take it, and to the point where he even asked that woman for help, and she punched him and said no and ran off. But it's just the whole time we're seeing Spike, like he can't, even though he has nothing left right now, like he is all on his own, he still cannot succumb to the evil that Jimmy is. It's just, especially in the whole barn, just the whole barn part, you really just see Jimmy is just like, he's not gonna be them. He never will be. Spike will never be a Jimmy. And he can't be loyal to Jimmy like the other Jimmys are. And it's just, it's way too dark. And even just Spike, yeah, like you say, he's already been through so much recently, but he still cannot go, like, be evil. He can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of that was Dr. Kelson, his mom, just infusing so much humanity in them where the Jimmys just don't care, you know, like their whole, every time you see the Jimmys, like they're just such a disregard for anything that's living. Like the whole barn scene is just so horrific, and they're just evil. And I think one of the things, I think when I came home, because I was visiting my sister this weekend, it's Martin Luther King Day weekend, and my sister and my brother-in-law are big into movies too, and they asked me, I was like, did you like the movie? And I was like, yeah, I loved it. That was great. I had the theater myself, which actually is kind of sad, actually, because you saw the box office numbers. And I saw it like 2:30 in the afternoon. And they were like, well, what's it about? And I was like, did you like, would we like it? And I was like, you know, 'cause, you know, they don't watch R-rated movies. They're not big into horror. And I was like, you know, I kind of told them the premise where it's like, well, it's a zombie apocalypse. Like there's some zombies. It is pretty scary, but the premise of it is there's a doctor who's trying to heal this one zombie, and then there's a satanic cult who is sacrificing people to the devil. And they were like, "No, we definitely won't watch the movie." And I was like, "Well," and so I wonder, like sometimes that's like in like the result, like in the box offices, because I think this one was way more brutal than 28 Years Later. And I don't think it's for everyone. Like, I'm a little nervous that, like, they won't make the third one because, like, I don't know if this, like, the whole satanic thing or if the whole torture thing, like, I'm concerned they won't make a third one now because it left some awesome cliffhangers where I'm like, I can't wait for the third one. I didn't have an issue with it because you kind of know that, like, going into this world, and if you've done research, like, on who the Jimmys are, like, you know that's going to be. But I fear that might drive enough people away that won't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it also could have been, again, the people who thought the first 28 Years Later was more of a drama than a zombie movie. I feel like they're probably going in with that same mentality, but I know people who didn't really like the first one, but loved Bone Temple.
Me too.
I'm hearing, like, a lot of people who didn't like it, the first one, love this one, and I wish people went out to see it more. It made half of what the first one made opening weekend. I'm hoping word of mouth helps it. I do believe they are doing the third one. They actually did, like,
Greenlit it
announce
already?
that. I think Alex Garland might be writing and directing, but yeah, there's no, like, details. Who knows when they're filming. At least I hope it's coming. It's not gonna be, it's so cheap to film a horror movie, so I feel like they do have the money. I mean, and there's just we need at least one more ending to close everything out. Like, that was a good middle part of a trilogy, Bone Temple was. So just need a good ending to finish the story out.
Yeah. Yeah, and from what I've heard from, like, horror fans too, is that, like, it was like, it's a good horror movie, like, people's horror itch was, like, satisfied and stuff, and, like, first off, I think the Jimmys are way more scarier than, like, any zombie, because like, those zombies, like, they are scary, you know, like, they're gonna eat you or eat your brain. Like, you see the scene where, like, Samson eats that guy's brain or whatever, and, like, they're zombies, and they'll tear your bones out through your neck, but you kind of know what they're gonna do, like, you know kind of how to anticipate them. And I think Dr. Kelson's quote where he's like, "I felt fear for the first time with Jimmy," is you just don't know how that person's gonna react, like there's some times where Jimmy is super calm and collected, and there's times where he's freaking out and he's all the time sadistic. Like, at least the zombies, you kind of know what they're about versus like the humans, like you don't. And so I know this is kind of like a trope in like all zombie movies where it's like, like The Walking Dead, the ending, the theme of like season 6 when Negan shows up is like humans are more dangerous than zombies. In The Last of Us with David, the pedophile, it's like the monsters are still the worst people in this universe. With this one, it's like the Jimmies are worse than any monsters. Like, I know that like that's a trope that's been done, but like this in this specific world, like I thought was done just really, really well. And so like the people wanted more zombie action. Like, is that just like their thing? Is they want more zombies, they want more zombie action, or that they want like the scares? Because like you were talking about scary, like I'll take like Jimmy's for me were way more scary, sadistic, evil, unpredictable than any kind of zombie. But like you're a horror stan, so like did your horror itch get scratched with 28 years later the Bone Temple?
I mean, yeah, it definitely I mean, it didn't feel like, obviously, like a jump scare type of horror movie, it wasn't that at all, it's just more like an atmospheric kinda horror movie, and just, again, the Jimmies, like, especially when we see them in that house right before they go into the barn and they're sitting at the table with these people, they're being fed. I just I was like, "Something bad is coming." Like, you just knew by Jimmy just sitting there at the table. Again, he was telling the story about the Teletubbies and everything like that. I was just like, "Okay, this something's gonna go wrong. They're gonna harm these poor innocent people. You know it's coming." And then it was even worse with the barn. I did not expect them to start skinning the people. That was crazy. But it's you just knew with Jimmy, him himself, he's terrifying enough, And it's also just a scary idea knowing that people like this can still exist when the world has gone to shit. Jimmy, yeah, he was the main source of horror. I wasn't really scared of like Samson to me in this one wasn't really scary. I think probably because like the way Kelson because so seeing him as a human more than like a threat. I think they were trying to make the audience feel that as well, and I guess that's how I felt. I didn't really think Samson like I didn't look at him as a zombie in this one. The first one, yeah, he was doing way more kills and stuff like that. But this one, I don't know. I didn't look at him as like a zombie necessarily.
Yeah, what did you think? I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about a lot was the relationship between Dr. Kelson and Samson. Like why did that stick out like so? Like obviously it's a main point of the movie, but like why for you did that stick out so much?
I guess because it's just such an unlikely friendship, if you wanna call it, relationship, whatever, that just works and you just love it. Like, I didn't go into this movie I didn't expect everything with Samson to happen. I did not think he would start talking. I did not think their cure was coming. I thought maybe Ray Fiennes was gonna be running from Samson the whole time. So this was just a really, like, nice surprise seeing that this monster and then this human can be friends, but they're, like, sitting together, they were all stoned, staring at the stars together and, like, dancing to music, and it's just Samson also really just you could tell he trusted Dr. Kelson, even when he was still, like, way more infected before he started talking, you could tell he started to feel comfortable with Dr. Kelson, and he just trusted him, and I really I like that because you don't really see that too much. All the zombies, of course, they wanna go after and kill the humans, but it was just interesting seeing them switch it up.
Yeah, I think it's a good process that's like healing too. Like when you come to somebody seeking healing and you're just not your best self and you kind of get better like as you go along, you earn that trust and I really thought that toward the end that Samson was actually going to come to the rescue where he's going to come and just
Mhm.
off the Jimmy's like it's like Thor against Loki in the first Avengers where he's just going to toss the Jimmy's around. Obviously that didn't happen, um, but he like, he found a cure, like, he cured this one person, and again, like, the message of, like, maybe you can't save the whole world, but you can take care of those that are, like, in your vicinity to help, and, like, I don't know, like, if he plays a role, like, in the 3rd one, I assume that he probably does since they kept his character alive. What else was I gonna say about Samson? His healing journey was awesome. I believe he's now immune, I think, because like, when he comes to and the rest of the zombies attack him, like, a few of them, like, spit in his face, like they do, like, when they get
Yeah.
people infected. and he walks away from it. And so I'm assuming now that he is been like healed, that he is like immune now, I think.
Uh-huh.
But so, yeah, I'm curious, like, what do you think is going to happen, like in this third one? Like, obviously, there's a big reveal at the end where the Killian Murphy is back, has a kid. He's going to connect with Spike and the other girl, the Jimmy, the girl Jimmy that he ends up becoming friends with, goes and rescues them from that group of zombies. Like, I'm curious, like, what's your prediction for the third film that has been greenlit? You are right, I checked that it has been greenlit. So at this point, they
Good.
probably can't say no to it. But what do you think is going to happen?
So this one, obviously, Killian, I don't think he's going to be the lead, but he's obviously going to have a bigger part. But it was great seeing Jim back and with his daughter, who were to assume she had the daughter with Selena from the first film, but Selena wasn't there, so we don't know if Selena's still around or not. Same with the other girl, Hannah, who was Brendan Gleeson's daughter in the first film. She was with them. That they were all together at the end of the first one. It looks like the same place that Jim is actually in. It looks like the exact same house. I don't know if that's true or not, but they're not there. The girls aren't there, so that's what I'm curious about if they're around, if something happened to them, and of course, like him and his daughter going to help Spike and Kelly, I think's her name. And I think they're just gonna help them. Like I think Spike's probably gonna go back to the island. But I think obviously things are not gonna go well at the island. Either it'll be fine when they first get there, or like zombies have already taken it over. Something like that. I just obviously it's not gonna be a happy story, but I just feel like something definitely with the island. I don't know if it'll get destroyed completely. Maybe it's just a lot. Probably gonna be a lot of deaths, but I definitely think that is a theory because I also saw somebody. I think they have the steel book of 28 years later, and on the front of it, it shows the causeway like clear. There's no the high tide's not in or anything. It's the causeway, and there's a bunch of zombies running towards the island. So I'm curious if that's what's gonna happen in the next one.
Well, I hope they bring back Spike's dad. I thought he was great. He was, he's kind of a douchebag, but he was, I thought, great. Like in the movie, is his role. He's not dead. I hope they bring Samson back. Just I don't know what they would they cure now with the person that knows how to do it. Like obviously he's dead, so I doubt Samson. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. Like remembers like how Dr. Kelson explained to him kind of what was going on and gave him the needed medicine to like make it go away. But yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad that Killian Murphy's back. I'm glad that Spike survived. It's interesting to see like his character and kind of the villains of the next movie. I'm assuming it's going to be the zombies, unless there's something that happens with like the Jimmies, which I doubt, because the Jimmies they don't seem like an organized group. They just kind of seem like there's Jimmy Crystal and then like his five fingers. So maybe their part of it is done, which is too bad because, like, we talked about this about Darius, but like Jack O'Connell, man, Jack O'Connell is like a deviant right now. I mean, he's in the running he could get like for us, like villain of the year 2 years in a row because this is gonna be tough to top. Like, I know Doctor Doom is coming and the villain in Spider-Man and we'll see what other villains come forward in 2026. But as far as like just pure evil, Jimmy's gonna be tough to stop. It's interesting because like his character in Sinners was different. He was the bad guy, but there's obviously a reason behind that, and he was so charismatic in that scene and all these different things. But his character, like, there's no gray line here. Like, there's no redeeming qualities about him. Like, there's nothing that's like, oh well, he's a complex villain. No, like he's just an asshole. Like he's just evil, which I like. Like I do. Like I like both. Like I like the villains where, like I was just on a podcast talking about like Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins, where he is the bad guy because he wants to kill a whole city, but you kind of get it. You're like, okay, yeah, it's a corrupt city. People are being raped and murdered and stealing and like you're wrong, but you make a lot of sense. Versus like Jimmy, like he's just evil. Like he's like a Voldemort. He's like a Sauron. There's no bringing him back to the light. There's no convincing him of he's just evil. And so he's gonna be tough to beat as far as like villain of the year. And this guy, dude, I'm loving Jack O'Connell, man. Whatever he's in, probably until he does something really bad or gets canceled or whatever, I'll probably see him in everything.
Yeah, I do love Jack O'Connell. The one thing I will say though is I did not expect, well, again, this is why I'm not sure if this was the end of Jimmy or not, but if that truly was the end of Jimmy, I was not expecting that already for the second one. I thought Jimmy might even be in the second one. I was watching like other people talking about the movie people were saying that he did die, he bled out and died, but, like, we didn't see it, and I don't know, I just feel like with any movie, if you don't see a death on screen, they probably did not die. I learned that from Marvel too, like, it just
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah,
All
even
the shit
then.
I watch, it always happens. No one is ever truly dead, but if that really is the end of Jimmy, I kinda wish we were getting at least one more chapter. Like, I thought we were gonna see Jimmy at the island, maybe he tries to take over the island and everything like that, but I have no idea who could be the villains in the third part except for the zombies themselves. Because, like, the evil Jimmys are gone. I don't know. I mean, the alpha is cured, so the alpha's not really a threat anymore. Though I am curious if Samson will, like, be able to speak normally, like, full sentences when he sees these people. Be like, "Hey, I'm not infected anymore. Just so you know, don't shoot me, don't kill me." So, I really just don't know who the villain is gonna be, but I'm so really interested and looking forward to what happens with these characters from here on out.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Like, I don't know if you had any issues with the film. I can't think of any big issues off the top of my head other than, like, I didn't love, like, the shaky camera in it. There's some points, shaky camera, I was like, ugh, I really hate shaky camera stuff. Which I know, like, my co-host would absolutely crucify me for that comment because he's like, well, it adds, like, specific things in certain moments. And if you're making it authentic and running away, like, it's like, it just adds more of that effect. And I get that, but like, as watching it kind of makes me sick. Um, I thought the length was great too. I thought like an hour and 45 minutes, an hour 50, I thought was a great length for that movie. It is brutal. Like that barn scene is just such a brutal watch, you
Yeah.
know? Like it's just like, and like there's other scenes that are, brutal. Like, when the zombie takes out the guy's head and eats his brains and Spike's opening scene, like those are hard scenes to watch. But the barn scene is just another level of just like brutality and the Satanism in it. It's just tough to watch. But you kind of know that going into a 20 years later movie where it's like, this is a brutal world. Like you're kind of, what you're signing up for. It's like going into Weapons, getting pissed if you get scared. Like what did you go in there for? Like, why did you watch that movie? And so I didn't have a lot of issues with it. I'm excited for the next one. And I really wanted to give it like higher. Like I gave it, I think on Letterboxd, a 4.4 stars out of 5. And on just like our social media channels, I think a 9 out of 10. And it's just so hard for me to give like a 10 out of 10, like even like a 9.5 out of 10, because like there's only like, I think 20 movies I've ever seen in before that I've ever given that to. But I didn't have any, it fulfilled everything, one of my expectations that I had for it. And I'm excited for the next installment, and I hope that the word of mouth gives it steam to kind of make its money back.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Nia DaCosta did a great job directing. She had her own style. I was just reading something earlier today that she is a massive 28 Days Later fan, and she would watch the movie all the time when she was a kid. And so it's really cool just now that she got to come back and direct one of the movies. And I just thought she did an awesome job. Some people like to shit on her because she did the Marvels, but I mean, that's not all her fault, okay? Don't blame the director for the shitty movie, blame the writers as well. But I also really liked her Candyman spiritual sequel, whatever you want to call it, that came out, I think, during COVID. That was very good, but I really liked her style in this one, and it's just awesome knowing that she's such a great fan of the series, because I feel like the fans can truly, like, do the best job sometimes.
Yeah, I was reading this article this morning to where just the differences between how 28 years later franchise is going and Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, which I actually don't mind the sequel trilogy. I don't mind it. But like their idea in the Star Wars trilogy was to have, I can't remember his name, but Homeboy Film Abrams. What's his name? What's his first name?
I'm
The
not a Star
director?
Wars person, I can't help.
Yeah, what's his name? Oh my goodness. Something
Johnny?
Abrams.
John?
No, it's something
No?
with J, but God, it's gonna drive me nuts.
Is it J.J. Abrams?
Who is the director of Star Wars: The Force Awakens? I can't believe I'm forgetting this. J.J. Abrams. That's
Yeah,
his name.
J.J. Abrams, there you go.
J.J. Abrams. Like they have J.J. Abrams. He films the first one, and Disney was like, okay, we're gonna give us another director who's talented, and let them just take the story wherever they want. And you should let them do whatever. And like, I don't know if there was like a through line where they knew what they wanted to tell and everything like that. Because I think Marvel kind of has their through line where they know the stories they want to tell. But I don't think Star Wars did. And so you get like, J.J. Abrams, and then you get Rian Johnson who kind of like throws it all, whatever. And then they bring J.J. back to try to course correct. And it just goes like this. And And I think you always just take a risk when you have a franchise where it's like, okay, we had the creators Boyle and Garland make 20 years later. Let's give it to a new director and kind of let them, do their thing. But I think 28 years later just did it better, where they have, I think, a through line of like, we want to get to this point. However you get there is kind of up to you, because like it was just so different. It was so different in such a good way. But it didn't, like, where Star Wars kind of went bad is when they went with their sequel. It kind of threw out everything the first one had set up and tried to set up like their own thing, versus this one expanded on everything that 28 years later did. Spike's story, Dr. Kelson, the Bone Temple, the infected, like what they actually experienced as infected. And then the Jimmies, like I know so many people that just bitched and whined about like, oh, who are these Power Rangers that show up at the end? And like, oh, what a weird ending, whatever, no explanation. And if they'll just wait 28 weeks, they'll get the explanation of like who these people are and how it makes sense like in this world. And yeah, I thought she was awesome. Like she's getting a lot of credit for a movie that I think she directed last year called Heda, which I never saw, but it's on a lot of people's like top 10 list from last year. I think it's on Amazon Prime. But yeah, I thought she was amazing. She expanded on everything and added her own personality into it. And I think she got to where the creators wanted her to get to, but did it in her own way. And so I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they got Danny Boyle back for the first part. You could tell he still had his style, like his camera angles, as like far away diagonal camera angles he'd have in 28 Days Later. He does a lot of the same kind of angles in 28 Years Later. So then like there's his style, and then Nia DaCosta's in this one, and then I think Alex Garden is writing and directing the third. Not entirely sure, but if he is, Alex is going to have his own style on it. And I just think like the three of them together, it's a good match. It's not like they got like someone who does like romance movies like for a living to direct like part two or anything like that. Like they chose people who I definitely think will work well together and can really just put all three like as one together as one whole story in a perfect way.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Well, what do you had on a list of what else did we not touch on that you wanted to touch on?
Pretty much. I think honestly we did touch everything. The one thing I was really excited about was the return of In a House in a Heartbeat at the end. I
Nice.
know that was my complaint about the first one, that the theme wasn't in it. And once I heard it, I was like, oh my God.
You're like,
And
oh,
like I knew that's when Killian was coming too. So that was I really loved that surprise at the end, because that theme song is just so iconic, I think. Especially in the first one, and then in 28 Weeks Later, the guy in the beginning when he's running from all the zombies, like that theme is blasting over the beginning and the ending, and it's such a good theme, and I'm really glad that they brought it back. Hoping it stays for the third part. Um, but it's just everything, even just with Killian, it's just I have no idea what's gonna happen. I can't even think. But I like that I have no idea what's gonna happen. I hope it's good. I hope we get it sooner rather than later. Who knows when they're gonna start filming though.
yeah, this was so refreshing. Like when they filmed it back to back and we got it 28 weeks later, like I didn't have to go back and rewatch 28 years later to like understand what was going on. Like it was just so, oh, the sequel's coming out 28 weeks later. Like that was just so refreshing. And I think this is just how you do legacy sequels. You can't escape like legacy sequels now. You just can't. It's what makes money. It's what people want. Like people want to escape for a few hours back in their childhood. Like you just can't escape it. I mean, we're getting a whole freaking Avengers Doomsday where it's like a superhero highlight film from the last 30 years. And, God bless them. But I think this is how you do it. Like it's a legacy sequel. Like 28 days later is a movie that came out in the mid 2000s, and they've expanded on the lore. They've expanded on the story. They've created like a way that nostalgia actually makes sense with like Cillian Murphy coming back, and it's part of the same world, but it's also it's very unique and it's different, and I just love it. And I can't wait to see where this story goes. But Renee, what's the next movie you're going to see? What's next on your agenda?
Gosh, there's not much. It's January. No, January's so slow. I don't think I'm going this weekend. I think next weekend I'm going, and I'm going to go see Send Help, which I am excited for.
Oh, that's Rachel McAdams. Is that the one on the
Yes,
island?
the Sam Raimi film where
That does
Dylan
look good.
O'Brien is her boss and treats her like shit, but then they crash on an island and she's in control. So I'm excited. It should be fun. I love Sam Raimi.
Dude, you have to let me know how that one is. I think, yeah, that's a cool project. Even with like Rachel McAdams, like that's very much like outside of like her normal like roles that she usually takes. And yeah, let me know. I think the next one I'm seeing, I was actually gonna go see a Jason Statham film at the end of January, which I do not like Jason Statham at all. I think
I've seen some of them.
they're just terrible. But this story is kind of like in like that wheelhouse where it kind of gets me, where it's like, oh, it's a guy who like has to help this kid, and I'm just like, okay, you got me maybe hooked enough to at least see like what Rotten Tomatoes has to say about it.
Mhm.
And if it has like a shit audience score or a shit whatever, like I won't see it. But I actually forgot I'm going to Sundance Film Festival. So my yeah, it's the last one in Park City, Utah, so it's super close to where I live. But I've got tickets to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 movies at Sundance like over the next 2 weeks. And so
Nice. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, so I'll definitely have my fair share in the theater over the next couple weeks, and hopefully get to see a few celebs as we say goodbye to the Park City Film Festival.
So I didn't know it was leaving there. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. Like it's too bad. Like there's they Robert Redford died, and he loved like Sundance, Utah. That's where he lived, and that's where he started the institute. And a bunch of like the actors that participate like wanted to stay in Sundance because they know like where the hotels are and the restaurants are and the theater and everything is like like the vibe there is great, where it's always snowing and there's skiing like right up the hill. So if you're not watching a movie, you can go ski. And every year like there's a ton of celebrities out. Like I was at a showing once with Ashton Kutcher. He was promoting his film. I was at a speech last year where the guy that played Frodo Baggins, Elijah Wood, was like advocating for the Sundance Film Festival to stay in Park City. But like all these cities like made bids. It was like Louisville, Kentucky, Boulder, Colorado, and then Park City. And they just kept upping their bids, like offering more money, more sponsorships, all these tax write-offs. But they ended up going with Colorado instead, Boulder, Colorado, which has a similar vibe to Park City. It's kind of cold and has this skiing and the college town and stuff. But they didn't explicitly say this, but we think that this was reason is that there's this really stupid law that got passed in Utah last year that it was a ban on pride flags. That you can't have pride flags like in public buildings. And so like that really didn't affect Sundance at all, but it's just like the culture of the state where like for whatever reason, like this law passed, like it's a legit law now. You can't have like a pride flag in a school or something. And just the politics of it, like, like with our current politics where everybody's pissed off at everything and one party has control, we think Sundance should decide, you know what, it's just not, let's just go to Colorado instead, which they didn't say that's the reason, but those of us that kind of wonder why you would pick Boulder over Park City, we think that's the reason. That was too bad.
Wow. Well, damn. Well, I hope you have fun. That's awesome. I would love to go to some kind of film festival at some point in my life.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll post my reviews and stuff. And a lot of them, like, not all this. It's funny because one thing I learned going to Sundance my first year is, for one, parking is shit. And like the movies are super expensive. Like it's $35 like a ticket, all this different stuff. But
What?
yeah, it's fun. It's fun, but it can get expensive. But one thing I learned is that not everything that plays at Sundance is good. Which I was under the assumption, like, if you get into Sundance, you are like a pristine film, a short film, a
Yeah.
movie. Like, I went a couple years ago and just watched some films, and I was like, this sucks. Like, this was awful. It was slow. It was poorly shot. Like, there was one show I went to last year that I absolutely hated. It was a documentary defending pedophiles, and I was like, this is what we're.
Why would they even allow that?
It's a whole like it was like an anti Chris Hansen video with like those stings that he does where like the pedophiles show up and he's like, gotcha. Like, it's Chris Hansen. Why'd you come here? Why'd you say all these different things? It's basically like saying like like this guy ruins their lives and kind of defending these pedophiles, and interview like a bunch of pedophiles. And then like half of us in the crowd were like, but these people did chat with someone they thought was a 13-year-old girl and said they were going to do things to her or to him, like a little boy. And they showed up expecting to do it and found Chris Hansen. Like, I don't know if these guys are the good guys that like this documentary is portraying. And so like,
Wow.
yeah, the documentary got really weird reception. And once in a while you get like a really good one, like the Zac Efron film that where he's not Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy.
Huh.
I forget what the name of the movie is called, but that premiered at Sundance. The really famous film about the band teacher, and what's it called? It's got the guy from Top Gun and the guy that's always J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man, where he's like the really abusive band teacher.
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Oh, Whiplash?
Yes, that one. Yeah, yeah. That one premiered at Sundance. Obviously, that became like a massive film and all these different things. And so you get really good ones, or you get some that are just really bad. And so you kind of have to like read the story and read who's in it and just kind of cast your lot and hope that for the best. Yeah. Dang, Renee. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your Martin Luther King Day. Thanks for
You
joining us
too.
on Locked Off Logic podcast. For those of us that are listening, check her out on TikTok, but mainly on Instagram, where she posts her reviews of the movies that she watches. And we're recording this on January 19th. And if you check her out today, or if you check it out when this podcast comes out, you'll find her review for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, right?
Yep, that'll be up later today.